Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video I am going to show you how I built my version of the holiday card. Now, your version is going to be different, right? You're going to create a card for a different holiday with a different family, maybe even possibly your family. Get a picture of your family and create a holiday card for, I don't know, whatever you celebrate, Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or Christmas or whatever. Now, it's important to remember the holiday that you write about or that you create this document for doesn't have to be a real holiday, and the family that you create this for doesn't have to be a real family. But we're all going to be generally creating the same thing, but you get to make different design choices based on the holiday that you're creating this for and the family you're creating it for. Okay, so the first thing we need to do in Photoshop is set up our document properties. I already have mine set to 7 inches wide by 5 inches tall, which if you read the assignment description, that's exactly what we're looking for. I'm setting it up for inches because this is something that presumably we would print maybe on like really nice shiny photo paper, and then we can mail it out to our family. My resolution is going to be 300 pixels per inch. I'm using CMYK color at 16-bit, and I'm just going to generate a white background. And I will click Create. So this is going to create my new document here. Now, the first thing I want to do is start importing the images I'm going to use. So there are a couple ways to do this. My preferred way is just to move Photoshop out of the way a little bit. Let's move this guy in here. Oh, come on. Let's move him in here. Oh yeah, let's snap him to the edge. So I already have my images picked out here on my desktop. And so I'm just going to start dragging them in. I'm going to drop this guy in, and that's going to be it's going to come in on its own layer. I will drop this one in. Oh, I have to hit enter to solidify that. I'm going to drop this picture in. That'll come in on its own layer. I'll hit enter. I will bring in this picture. That'll come in on its own layer and hit enter. And I'll bring in this picture. That'll come in on its own layer and I'll hit enter. Now I have all of my images in here that I'm going to use. They're just a bit unorganized. So I'm just going to turn off the ones I don't want to work on right now and just only focus on each one individually. So this first thing I'm going to do is set up my background for my card. So notice how the picture itself isn't exactly the right size I need it to be. So I need to do something called transform. So I'm going to hit Control T for my free transform options, or we can go up to edit and then there's some free transform options there. And I'm just going to increase the size. I'm going to scale this up until it is the entire background and hit enter. And now I have this really nice looking space background for my holiday card. If you haven't noticed yet, I'm making a holiday card for the Han Solo, the Solo family. Han Solo and Leia Organa Solo, Skywalker, whatever, and then Ben Solo. Because they're a happy family, right? Nothing ever bad is going to happen to this family, ever, right? Perfect. So now I have my family. Now they're too big, and I want to actually shrink them down. But they are the main focus of this document. The main focus of this is going to be this family specifically. So I don't want them to be too small, but again, they're too big for our purposes right now. So I'm going to shrink them down just a bit more and place them generally in the center of the document. Now notice when I was moving this image around, these purple or pink guides showed up to show me, hey, you're right in the center of the document. And I want to use those guides effectively to make sure that everything is centered perfectly. I'm going to hit enter to solidify that change. Now, there's not enough, in my opinion, there's not enough of a separation between the main focus and the background here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something behind them, a frame of some sort, right? And the way I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to draw. Let's do a white. Let's make it white with a white stroke. I'm going to draw a rectangle behind them. So I'm going to do roughly about there, and I will just draw the rectangle to make kind of a border. Now it's going to place it on top of them. So in order to put it behind them, all I have to do is come over here to my layers and take a look, and I can see that my rectangle 1 is above my solo family portrait. I actually want it to be below, so I'm going to drag it below. And now my solo family portrait pops up on top of the white rectangle, and it gives the look, it gives the effect of this like border around the picture, which is what I want, which will separate them from the background a bit more. Okay, great. So now that's done. I need some text up here. And the text that I'm going to put on there is Happy Life Day, because in the Star Wars universe, Life Day is like the equivalent of Christmas. So I'm going to use my text tool here. And I want to make sure I choose the right, I'm going to choose white for my text. Click OK. And I'm just going to type, it just put in some lorem ipsum text for me. I don't want that. Happy Life Day. Now that text is really boring. It's really, really boring. So I actually want to change some things about the text. First of all, I want to choose the right font. For me, I've actually installed a Star Wars font. And I would love to say I did it just for this project, but it definitely wasn't just for this project. I use a lot of Star Wars font. And the Star Wars font that I use is called Star Jedi. It's regular text. I'm going to increase the size, maybe a little bit more, 48. That looks better. And let's move it into a place of position or a place of prominence in my document. Happy Life Day, right there. Looks good. Now you might be thinking, well, Mr. Storm, this actually doesn't look great because I can see some light shining through there and all that. Well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to apply a stroke to my text here to give it a black outline, which will help separate it from the background. And you also might be thinking, well, this is great. I'm glad that you can use a font that you've installed. But what about us? We just get stuck with the fonts that are in Photoshop. Not real. Not true. If you want me to install a different font for you, if you're in the computer lab, just let me know, and I will install the font for you. I have to put in my administrator password and stuff. If you're using a laptop at home or your own computer, you can install any fonts you want, and Photoshop will use any font you have installed on your computer. Okay, so I'm going to apply a stroke around this text here, and that is going to be an effect. I'm going to click FX and click stroke. And it will be a black stroke, and I'm going to make it, let's say, 5 pixels. Maybe that's a bit too much. Let's try 3 pixels. That's a bit better. So now you can see it kind of pops out. It stands out a bit from the background. And I might actually add a, let's see, do I want an outer glow? Let's try an outer glow as well. And just do, let's increase the spread of my outer glow just a bit. Okay, that's looking good. And the size, Happy Life Day. That looks good. I'm going to keep that. That looks pretty good to me. I could play around with it a bit more, but I don't want this video to be, 4 hours long. But that looks good enough. Now I need another text layer that uses essentially the same option. So I could just create a new text layer, or I can go down here and I could duplicate the layer, and I can call this, sure, Happy Life Day Copy. I don't care. Now I have Happy Life Day and Happy Life Day Copy. You might be thinking, well, where's the duplicate that you just created? It's on top of it. So now I can just drop this all the way down here. And then down here, instead of Happy Life Day, let me click on it. Let's see. Let's say to you and yours. I'm going to have to shrink this a bit. It's not going to be 48. Let's try 30. Happy Life Day to you and yours. Now, the solos are here, but I want Chewbacca to show up as well because, I mean, why would I create? I mean, Chewbacca's part of the family, right? So I want to make sure I put Chewbacca in here as well, which is why I have Chewie here. Now, here's a problem though. Chewbacca has this ugly white background behind him, and I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to use a special tool called the Magic Wand tool. And if I click anywhere in the white around Chewbacca and hit delete, I'm getting that message again. It's a smart object that's not directly editable. Okay, let's deselect. Come over here to my layer, right click, and click rasterize. Now I can delete, and it'll get rid of the background behind Chewbacca. And I can deselect. Now I want to move Chewbacca kind of over here. I'm also going to rotate him. So I'm going to Control T to transform, or to free transform. Shrink him down, rotate him a bit more. Rotate him a bit more, shrink him down a bit more. And I just kind of want him peeking out behind these guys. So because I want him behind him, then I drop him underneath the family portrait, and I want to drop him underneath the rectangle as well. Okay, so now Chewbacca is peeking out here. Maybe I can Control T to rotate him a bit more and move him out a bit more so it's a bit easier to see him. Okay, now I'm going to apply a layer effect to Chewbacca so that he looks a bit different. I want him a bit more subdued. So I'm going to apply let's apply a color overlay over Chewbacca. And I want to drop the opacity by a lot. And I want the color to be, let's try a yellow overlay, just to kind of mute him out just a bit, right? So he's looking out there, but he's not really a part of the family. I'm just making a very small adjustment. And I'm actually going to use a darken filter so the effect is even more subtle. And click OK. So again, you just want to play around with the options that you have. Okay, now that I have the whole family represented, even poor Chewbacca, who's outside of the box, he's not with the whole family. By looking at my design, I can kind of tell that there's a bit of an issue now. I have text on the top, text on the bottom. I have the primary focus in the middle. I have Chewbacca on the side, but on the other side, over here, there's not a lot of balance, right? There's a bunch of stuff going on over here, but not a lot of stuff going on over here. So I want to layer something else in here, which is why I have my Millennium Falcon. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I don't want. With this, really all I want is the shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Lasso Select tool. I'm going to trace around the rough general shape of the Millennium Falcon. Now, this is something that we're going to get into a lot more next week when we get into compositing. But I just want this piece of it. So I'm going to go to Select and do Inverse. So I'm selecting everything except what I've selected and hit Delete. Oh, it's not. I keep forgetting to rasterize my stuff. Let's rasterize. Now let's hit Delete. So now notice everything except for what I selected went away. I'm going to Control D. Then I'm going to use my Magic Wand tool again to get rid of all of that stuff. Control D again. And then I will move, and down there, notice that there was some of it that was, let me grab my lasso tool again, get rid of this, delete, there we go. Control D. Now I want to move this. I want to Control T to rotate her around there. Let's do it like angling this way so we can kind of mirror the way that Chewbacca is angled. And we'll kind of put it right about there. Let's rotate it up a bit more so we're not in poor Ben Solo's face. We don't want him to turn to the dark side or anything, right? That's about good. There's still some white space up here, but that's okay. And then here we're going to put in a message, put in a text, some text from the Solos. Now, obviously, I don't want the same Star Jedi font that I used. I'm going to use a script font so it looks like it was written or scribbled out onto the, we'll do this right here. We will make the text black instead of white. We will do something here. Let's make this a capital T. Let's change the, come on. Let's change the orientation to centered. Put it in here, and then notice that there's a bit, it's a bit busy behind my text. All this detail in the Millennium Falcon is kind of getting in the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase all that detail. Let's get rid of my ship here. And then inside of it, we can use our eraser tool, and we can just zoom in and just start, oh, not erase. I don't want to erase. I want to color it in with white. So I'm going to use my brush tool, and I'm going to use my eyedropper to select the same color as the background here. And then I'm going to start brushing it in. Now I want a harder brush. I don't want it to be soft. I want it to be really, really hard. And, oh, hello. What was that? Oh, I went back to my eraser for some reason. Oh, because I chose the eraser. I'm going to increase the hardness here so it's a lot more of a defined edge. And then I'm just going to erase much of the detail in the center here. So that my text will stand out. Just kind of erase a circular area. Now let's turn my text back on and see that it looks a lot better. I'm going to zoom back out here. And I might actually shrink the text a bit so that it doesn't, so it's a little bit more distinct. Okay, well, that is my holiday card. There are some things I can change to make it look a bit better, but for now, I mean, that's pretty general. That's pretty good, I think. If you make something kind of like this that respects balance and white space and, you know, has a general color theory that you're going to use and, you know, looks like you've made some decisions in terms of the design instead of just throwing something together, then you're going to do well on this project. If you're using Photoshop and you're happy with your final work, then what you can do, and I actually need to double check. So we're uploading them as PNGs. Oh, notice my earlier example was different. You know, I'm actually gonna, that's fine. So we're gonna upload it as a PNG. So we're going to, I actually do want to do this a little bit. So I want to bend this text a bit. I'm going to give it an arc, and I want to bend the arc down a little bit so that it has a bit more life to the text. I was just looking at my other example that I created, and I'm realizing I liked it that way a little bit better. And instead of white for the text, I'm going to make it yellow, like a Star Wars yellow. Oh, what did I just do? I think I might, yeah. Do I like the yellow? Yeah, I like the yellow. Yeah, I'll keep the yellow. I think the yellow looks pretty good. All right. Anyway, a couple last minute changes. All right, so when you're done, you want to file and you want to export. And the quick export as PNG option is a pretty good option. You can just quick export as a PNG. See, now I'm thinking maybe I want to go back to the white. Whatever. I'm going to leave it like this. Yeah, I'll leave it like this. That's fine. So the quick export as a PNG, you want to give it a name. I'm going to call it holiday card, and I'm going to save it. And it will export as a PNG onto, did I tell it to go to my desktop? Where did I tell it to go? I told it to go to my documents folder. All right, let's put this onto the desktop. Now I can see that I have my holiday card. It's all complete. It's all good to go, and I can turn this in. So once you're done with your holiday card, go ahead and turn it in, and then we can move on to the next thing. So thanks for paying attention, and I'll see you next week.